Well, a gwini cóta súlam nach cu me mhuil róhór ach tá fircin fóilse roibh go léir the Áras an Uachtaráin ar an lábhgeall se agus níl éon rám a bhfuil beidir fóilse bhfuil tilteach chana sí féin. May I first of all say I welcome you all to Áras an Uachtaráin, and I'm delighted to have the opportunity of being part of the celebration of the 25th anniversary of an organisation that has contributed so much to the provision of homes and indeed a community life for so many Irish citizens who find themselves in need of assistance or support in securing a place that they can call home. In the previous term of the presidency, I had an opportunity of visiting a Clúid project just as it was opening, that some people were moving in, and I was enormously impressed. I think that the role of Clúid housing and the voluntary housing sector in general are playing an absolutely integral part in our social housing delivery, and I want, as I went around and listened to all the different skills that you have brought to the work of Clúid, I want so much to thank you for that, and what a great results you have for your work. I think as well that the word Clúid itself in Irish means the seat beside the fire to which a person was invited, offered to guests as a sign of hospitality and welcome. It's a great name for a great organisation and with very dedicated staff. It's a special kind of person who is working in this area. I think, is there anything more important really than being able to be working in offering the security of a home and the support of a community to our fellow members of our society? Because it keeps turning up the question of what is, sometimes the words are very important, but the word home is the important word, because someone else depends upon it. A sense of belonging, a sense of being part of society, a sense of being connected, and a sense of being, if you like, one's participation in society being allowed and being appreciated. And I think for many times, those people who had I referred often to the appropriate definition of a republic is a community of vulnerabilities, because everyone has a vulnerability of some kind. But I think that for a long time in the history of our country, that need was met by institutional care, and that was regarded as a sufficient indication of a society's care for its vulnerable people. But thankfully in later times there's been an evolution in policy, very much assisted by the existence of organisations like our own over the last 25 years, that a society really must be a just and inclusive one, and that if it is to do that, and if it is to recognise self-worth, and then autonomy is important. Then one wants, in fact, security because that the basic needs are being met, but also the right that dignity itself requires that autonomy, and also the right to exercise discretion. Discretion is life, so that one can contribute to society and community life. That is why I think housing described as some kind of residual that is allowed as an outfall of the economic market could never be sufficient. A home is where a person invests all of their intimacies, makes their lives, establishes relationships, a place also where memories are stored. But I think that Clúid represents a very significant resource to the Irish people. And I said, when the rights of elderly citizens, for example, and some of you are dealing specifically with that, are safeguarded, I think it means that we're allowing all the members of our community to be able to live full lives. I think, for example, it's very interesting of those with disabilities, for example. The word should be long gone by now, and there should be just simply people with special skills and so on. But I think as recently I was in Birmingham and in Liverpool, and a very elderly woman at one of the receptions in Birmingham said to me, are they still running the scheme that might enable us to come home That's a very complicated issue because many of the people of our immigrants, particularly from the 1950s, their peer group, many of them are dead. Life has changed, and then they have securities in the state where they are. So very often when she was speaking about is those small schemes we have of where for part of the year one can at least return and make contact with your roots. All of these are social rights. It isn't only a case of putting people behind a door and a wall and making them safe. It's much more than that. It is about the right to belong. And I think also to experience one's citizenship within a national community. As I've said, a community of communities of vulnerabilities. But as I was preparing my remarks for this morning, one thing struck me immediately, how pleased I was to hear the good news from Cork. And what a great relief it must be to those who were in conditions of great insecurity. And my first reaction was, if we could have more of this, because it was such good news. And also, reading you, I think on the radio, you've been speaking as well about further proposals that you may have in the Midlands. And I so want to wish you well with all of these projects. I think as well there's something very important in relation to the detail that has emerged from the Cork developments, and that is the notion that there isn't a different lesser level of accommodation or service that is appropriate to people with a particular need or people in particular circumstances. Sometimes I get quite irritated to hear people making the argument that you have actually to plant people for their improvement among people who might be more affluent or whatever. I say as a sociologist that this argument went out shortly about the 1950s. The fact about it is that when people have secure, safe, proper accommodation, they in fact actually can achieve anything, but most important, their rights are being secured. I think that the investment, the form of the partnership with the Cork City Council is very, very valuable. And I just think as well that maybe we might be seeing it where city councils and authorities should be proud to be housing managers. Could there be anything better you're doing than in fact actually delivering the needs to these people in such a basic area as housing? I congratulate Clúid for their not just for the Cork achievement recently, but for the 25 years. And I think as well as the areas where you have deep population, and many of local authorities are in fact struggling, and I understand there are difficulties with the targets that government has placed for them. And I think that these new forms of partnership, and you're moving into the gap, if in fact things are going too slow, I so welcome your role in addressing that issue. I also want to say that there's another side to all of this. As a writer, I must say I've often been interested in that particular moment in the life of an older person when they're leaving maybe a house, they're leaving a space where they've spent for a long time. And one of the lines in one of my poems is about the word things, which people said, have you got your things? As you bundle up, and how in fact these are all different objects of intimacy that are in a place, and therefore your work has enabled us in fact to offer options for older people, and it means that people can stay close to what is for them what for them are intimacies much longer, or nearer their families, and so on, and live a very full life. The mission statement: providing quality housing and services to enable people to create homes and thriving communities. It's a wonderful mission. I think, therefore, this is a great morning for you to be coming to see me to celebrate your 25 years. And to think that Clúid's 6,700 properties, and that's not counting the ones I've been speaking about, have provided homes for 17,000 people over the 25 years. And I very, very much say, therefore, again, I repeat, with what pleasure I read James Hallin's hopeful statement on the recent developments. And I know as well that I use the word partnership You've been able to work with, I've mentioned local authorities, but also you've been able to, if you like, actually try and extract the best of themselves from the developers you're working with. And sometimes that requires not only persuasion, but a bit of pressure as well. I congratulate you on all of that. But really, one of the reasons I wasn't to delay you any longer, but to say how pleased I was to hear all the different skills that are in this room, in every different area, from housing officer, legal services, people, electric, everything. And I have to say that I was elected first to a local authority in 1974. It's a long, long time ago. But at that particular time, all those skills might be in the average local authority. And it's a great pity that they're no longer there. But you're doing it, and what a great community it is who are doing such important work. And I think I'm very glad indeed here in Dublin City itself, the redevelopment of St Mary's Mansions, the North Inner City. And I think responding to new needs, you will be dealing with, we are dealing in Ireland now, we're not dealing with, but we are composed of tenants with very, very different circumstances. And I think that's what's very, very important. You know, the phrase where someone would say, well, there you are now. You don't just deposit a tenant and then say that should be grand now. The fact is there are needs that continue. And again, that is the reason why all of those. And also, if you have 200 staff, working, there are all sorts of skills that have to be managed. As I said, they're all there, the human relations and so on. The largest approved housing body in Ireland, that is what Clúid is. 200 highly qualified professional staff, and now 3 or 4 more added to that, I think, as I was told. I think just really it's essential work. I said in Irish that there was no group it gives me greater pleasure to welcome to Áras and Uachtaráin on today. I repeat it again. And I thank you for your work. I thank Aileen Lee for her assistance with our own staff here for organising this event. The board members who down here are drawn from diverse backgrounds, valuable sharing of skills, the broad range of skills and experience all around this room here. Brian O'Gorman, your CEO. Where is Brian O'Gorman again? There he is there. He's looking very young. I kind of have a good look at these people about how they're managing that. But the first employee of Clúid, and what a great morning it must be for you. So to all of you, míle buíochas ansach an radatá sibh dhéanamh ach go háirithe san casmuint an tíre seo. Is guim go grágus banach de gochrad a meg siúlag is na blinta tála tíre. The lana siad is go méide siad. I hope you deliver your hopeful message to the people who need it so most all over Ireland. May you expand and do so with health and happiness in your own lives. Míle buíochas, thank you.
Uachtaráin, on behalf of Clúid Housing, our residents, our board and our staff, our sincerest thanks to you for this warm welcome to Áras and Uachtaráin. Clúid is 25 years old this year, and we're grateful for this opportunity to meet with you and to mark this milestone in our organisation's history. We began those 25 years ago as St Pancras Housing Association in 1994. St Pancras Housing Association from London had been invited by the then Minister for the Environment to establish a sister organisation in Ireland. The Irish community in the UK played a critical role in the growth of non-profit housing associations throughout the UK. For this very reason, Uachtaráin, your recent visit to the Irish communities in England has much resonance for our association. In 2001, we assumed the name of Clúid Housing. The suggestion was indeed brought to us by a schools inspector from Galway. You've already mentioned the meaning of the word as the seat beside the fire, the corner seat that was vacated for the guest or reserved for the venerable elderly member of the household. And it's these twin concepts of home and comfort on which Clúid bases its vision. That vision is a society where everyone has a great place to live. We're all acutely aware of the realisation of this vision remains ever more pressing. At the centre of our activities is the belief that people can only begin to build their lives if they reside in secure housing. Such security brings with it the opportunity to work, to put down roots, to participate in education and training, and to access services. In short, to put down roots and to participate in and contribute to society. Without this security, it is almost impossible to pursue and realise one's potential as an active member of society. President Higgins, you said in your inaugural speech last November that a real republic is one where there is a commitment to equality, to strong, sustainable communities. This speaks strongly to us as an organisation and to our vision of security. The security of tenure will allow our residents to build and improve their lives through the quiet and peaceful enjoyment of their home. We appreciate this recognition today of our work, especially as we look forward with ambitious plans to continue our mission of providing quality housing and services to our residents, which now number over 17,000 across the country. You said in your most recent Christmas and New Year address that far too many of our people are missing the necessary securities of home, and that there needed to be a renewed sense of solidarity for us all to support people who find themselves in that vulnerable position. In response to that, and to your kind words today, Clúid Housing reaffirms its commitment to do its part in providing quality housing and services to enable people to create homes and thriving communities for themselves. As you so eloquently said in your inaugural speech, it is together that we move forward. We are extremely fortunate in having amongst our residents the artist Mary O'Sullivan and the poet Daniel Meehan. Uachtaráin, we would like to take this opportunity to present these gifts to you on behalf of Clúid. They are a painting by Mary, and finally, some poems that have been written by Daniel.